We're joining you a couple of minutes earlier than normal as we shortly will be bringing you live, uninterrupted coverage of President Moon Jae-in's 2021 budget speech to lawmakers at the National Assembly. Once the speech is over, we'll bring you the rest of the day's news. South Korean President Moon Jae-in is moments away from delivering a speech at the National Assembly on next year's budget, the fifth speech of its kind he's given since taking office in 2017. The president is set to call for bipartisan support in reviewing and confirming next year's budget of just under $500 billion. The proposed bill is 8.5% higher than this year's budget, and it's aimed at overcoming the economic turmoil sparked by the COVID-19 outbreak. The latest budget is allocated based on four major areas: strong and fast economic recovery, obtaining future growth engines, consolidating social safety net programs, and enhancing the safety and the livelihoods of the public. The centerpiece of the bill is nearly $18 billion set aside for Korea's digital and Green New Deal projects for the post-COVID-19 world, which are expected to create some 360,000 jobs. Now, during his speech, President Moon is expected to highlight the need for thorough quarantine measures and efforts to prop up the economy to ensure that Korea can withstand crisis. He's expected to urge lawmakers to pass the budget bill before the legal deadline of December 2nd. And President Moon is also likely to provide the specifics of how the government plans to revive the economy in terms of boosting trade, stabilizing jobs, and raising industrial competitiveness for the future. The president could also touch upon diplomacy with North Korea, and especially on efforts to resume dialogue with North Korea during his final year and a half in office. And throughout the speech, we will be providing simultaneous English interpretation. And with that, we're looking at the National Assembly right now, and we are hearing from the opening remarks from our National Assembly Speaker, Byeong-seug. Well, it looks like the speech is being delayed. Now, as we wait, let me give you a short summary of the details of the government's budget plan for 2021. The proposed bill is around $500 billion, and it is up 8.5% higher than this year's budget. And it's aimed at overcoming the economic turmoil sparked by the COVID-19 outbreak. And the latest budget is allocated based on four major areas. And now we will turn over to the scene to listen to the remarks.
Once again, we will be demanding a respective response from the Cheongwade. And the President Moon Jae-in has come to the National Assembly to give his budget speech for the fourth time straight this year as well. And I thank him once again. At a time when the public is undergoing difficulties caused by the COVID-19, the National Assembly will make sure that we will stand in bipartisan support so that we can provide good livelihoods for the public as well. And we ask for your participation going forward as well. And now we have the first agenda item of today. The agenda item is the budget speech given by the government for the 2021. In just a moment, the president will be entering the venue to give his budget speech. Now the president is entering the venue.
예. 다시 한번 말씀드립니다.
Once again,
지금 야당이 주장하는 것에 대해서
we have a number of items which are being demanded from the opposition party. We will be revealing the truth and we will be demanding the respective responses. And once again, I also would like to apologize for those happenings, but we will proceed with the government's and the president's budget speech, and we ask the lawmakers to provide full respect. Now the president will deliver his remarks. Fellow Koreans, the Honorable Speaker and distinguished members of the National Assembly, at a very grave moment here at home and abroad due to the COVID-19 pandemic, I stand before you to deliver the budget speech for next year with a strong sense of determination and heavy thoughts. This is something that no one could have imagined just 1 year ago. The year 2020 will be recorded as one of a global transformation. The COVID-19 pandemic is significantly threatening the lives of the human race, transforming our daily lives, with the global economy and international order also undergoing great changes. Due to the novel virus, the human race has been once again faced with a public health crisis in a century. The global tally has already surpassed 43 million, and the total fatalities also exceed 1.1 million. Even today, we continue to witness hundreds of thousands of people being newly infected and thousands of people losing their lives. No one knows when this would all end. We are also experiencing a loss in ordinary daily lives as well. Inter-country movement and people-to-people exchanges are becoming a halt, and we are rapidly transforming into a zero-contact society. The basis of economic activities have collapsed, and the world economy is experiencing unprecedented depression. This is the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression. The unprecedented comprehensive crisis that is impacting all areas of real economy, finance, domestic demand, and exports is pushing the world economy to stand on the verge. Corporations are facing growing difficulties. Employment instability is worsening. The lives of the vulnerable class are becoming even more challenging. No country is exempted from such an impact. The global economic crisis stemming from an infectious disease since the modern times is also unprecedented. The Republic of Korea, however, is showcasing to the world that we are a country that is strong in crisis. In overcoming the COVID-19 pandemic, we are united and we are also building hope amid prolonged crisis. In areas of quarantine and economy, we are becoming a country that is doing well. The power to become even more united during a crisis comes from the power of the public. The fact that we could have overcome and discovered ourselves amid a global crisis gave us great courage and a sense of pride. K-quarantine has becoming a global model and also the pride of the Republic of Korea. The core values of democracy, which are openness, transparency, and democratic features, were the three major principles of quarantine, and all members of the public became active agents in quarantine. With swift testing, extensive investigation, rapid isolation, and treatment, we have showcased to the world the outstanding features of K-quarantine that cannot be mimicked by any country around the world. This was never a coincidence, and it was not out of luck. During the early stages of COVID-19, we were a country with the world's second largest number of COVID-19 confirmed cases. We also had numerous crises of a possible resurgence of the virus. However, we were able to overcome each crisis successfully. We successfully passed through the crisis in August and the long Chuseok holiday, thereby controlling the COVID-19 pandemic to a large extent. At a time when many countries across Europe are witnessing resurgences of the virus leading to emergency measures, Korea, on the other hand, has eased quarantine measures, becoming an unusual country, successfully curbing the virus. This was all possible thanks to the dedication exerted by quarantine authorities and medical practitioners. It was also possible thanks to the energy of the public, who endured the inconveniences and economic losses to take part in quarantine efforts. I extend my deepest appreciation once again. In terms of economic terms, we are also garnering international attention. The success of K-quarantine with no shutdown of national nor regional borders are leading to economic impacts which are being met with the government's proactive fiscal policies and effective economic responses like the Korean New Deal policy. Thanks to all this, Korea is being pointed to as a country that is going through with the fastest economic recovery. Among OECD member states, Korea is being praised as a country with the highest economic growth rate, and international credit rating agencies are also maintaining their stable forecast of our country's credit rating. This year, the world's three largest rating agencies, S&P, Moody's, and Fitch, have downgraded the economic outlook or national credit rating for some 109 countries. On the other hand, it is very fortunate that our economy is doing well. I take this opportunity to extend my deepest gratitude to the National Assembly for taking part in overcoming the crisis. During this year, the National Assembly has swiftly passed the 4 rounds of supplementary budgets worth some 67 trillion Korean won in total. This has become a great help in safeguarding the national economy and the livelihoods of the public. Bipartisan cooperation is indeed the driving engine in overcoming the crisis. Going forward, I sincerely hope that you can continue to look after the economy and the livelihoods of the public. Fellow Koreans, distinguished members of the National Assembly, now it is high time that we made certain economic rebound together with a clear stability in quarantine. I sincerely hope that today's occasion can be one where we can renew our resolves together to achieve success in both quarantine and economic recovery. My administration will continue to maintain advanced and systematic quarantine systems as well. As we did until now, when we maintain a high level of mature civil awareness, making it a habit to abide by quarantine measures in our post-COVID-19 era, I have great confidence that the status of the Republic of Korea as a country leading quarantine will see no change. We will also make sure that our economy also makes clear recovery going forward. We continue to witness hopes. Overcoming the negative growth rates during the first and second quarters, our growth rate for the third quarter has rebounded, staying in positive figures. It is very unfortunate as it failed to make even a greater rebound due to the resurgences of the virus during August, but this itself is also very meaningful. Continuing on with the hopes of the third quarter, my administration will continue to continue the upward trend in the fourth quarter as well. We are also seeing a recovery in our outbound shipment. Easing of quarantine measures is also providing the conditions to revitalize domestic demand and consumption. Foreign direct investment also recorded its highest record in the third quarter, making Korea one of the safest investment destinations around the world. Corporation performances are also improving. In particular, the new industry sector and SME innovative venture sectors are leading the economic recovery, overturning the crisis into a new opportunity. It is showcasing to the world our potential of the economy. Now, from next year, in order to overcome and return our economy in the normal growth trajectory, it is time for us to put in place more proactive measures to revitalize the economy. My government will continue to carry out strongly the Korean New Deal, and while overcoming the crisis, we will also exert more efforts to lead the future. We will become a trustworthy government that safeguards the lives of the citizens while being responsible for the state's future. We will make sure to pay back to the public who are acting as agents of quarantine and economy, enduring great challenges. Achieving success in quarantine and economy, we will make the crisis into a new opportunity. I ask the National Assembly to muster wisdom together. Fellow Koreans, distinguished members of the National Assembly, in order to usher in a new future for the country and to safeguard the public's lives, the role of the fiscal sector is becoming ever more important. Entailing a strong determination to overcome a state crisis and to becoming a leading country, the government has designated 555.8 trillion Korean won for next year's state budget. This is an 8.5% increase from this year's budget, but it's a 0.2% increase, including the supplementary budgets, and we have also put in place the consideration for the mid to long-term fiscal soundness. My administration will continue to expand fiscal injection while carrying out the adjustment of the expenditure scheme. The 2021 budget submitted by the government is one that is needed to overcome the crisis and to leap forward towards becoming a leading nation. By overcoming the crisis, we aim to revive the livelihoods of the public and also prioritize a swift and strong economic recovery. In addition to transform our economy from a fast follower economy into a pace setter, we highlight the importance of implementing in full-fledged the Korean New Deal. We will expand investment in employment and social safety net while securing a future growth engine, thereby supporting the foundation of innovation and inclusiveness. It also entails our determination to enable safe lives, robust defense, and peace on the Korean Peninsula. As a trustworthy government that safeguards the lives of the public, we will intensify our proactive role of the fiscal sector to overcome the crisis and make a 2021 a year where we can become a leading nation. First and foremost, we will put priority in achieving fast and strong economic recovery. Overcoming from the economic shocks of the COVID-19, we will speed up economic recovery and achieve clear economic rebound. Starting point will be the jobs. Last year, there were clear signs of recovery in jobs, but they were once again impacted significantly amid the COVID-19 pandemic this year. In order to safeguard jobs, my administration has expanded significantly emergency fiscal support and financial support, exerting full efforts to create new jobs in the public sector. As a result, we are witnessing an improvement in employment index, but with another COVID-19 resurgence crisis in August, we've seen increased decline of jobs once again. Jobs will also continue to be the largest agenda item for next year, as well as the beginning point of economic recovery. To this end, our budget for next year prioritizes the need for maintaining and creating jobs. The government will double our efforts to safeguard jobs and also exert efforts to create new jobs. Employment maintenance allowance will also help safeguard the jobs for 460,000 people, and and with tailored support for the youth, middle-aged, and small business owners, we will create 570,000 new jobs in the public sector. As for the class vulnerable for employment, including the elderly and the disabled, the government will provide 1.03 million jobs directly with the aim of alleviating employment shock. In creating high-quality jobs, the role of the corporations is very crucial. The government's investment is a prime motor for creating new jobs in the private sector. I ask the corporations to continue to muster their strength as well. The government will also provide our utmost support. In order to speed up economic recovery, we need increased consumption, investment, and outbound shipment. Based on our confidence in fighting against COVID-19, the government will carry out policies to facilitate domestic consumption. We will expand the issuance of regional and onnuri gift certificates to 18 trillion won, strengthen support for neighborhood markets, and facilitate and promote consumpsption. We will vitalize domestic tourism, which has been contracted due to COVID-19, and we will spare no support for revitalizing the regional economy. We will also enhance investment vitality going forward. In order to transform abundant liquid funds into productive investment, we will expand policy funds and provide 72.9 trillion won. The Korean New Deal Fund and Finance will lead further investment by the private sector as well. We will also double the support for enabling Korean companies to make a detour back to Korea and to invite more foreign advanced industries. We will speed up investment in large-scale national balanced development projects and inject an expanded amount of 11.1 trillion won in livelihood SOC investment. The government will also make sure to revive our outbound shipment. Even amid COVID-19 crisis, exports are becoming the strength of our economic recovery. Not only in major industries like automobiles and chips, we are also witnessing increased exports in K-quarantine products, non-face-to-face potential goods, and cultural contents that are largely led by SMEs. We will speed this up. In order to win orders for foreign plants and to support SMEs with export funds, we will provide 5.8 trillion won in export policy funds and also provide support to facilitate diversification of the export markets. I hope that the conglomerates and SMEs, the labor and management, the government and private sector will be united to enable economic recovery. Second, we will carry out in full-fledged the Korean New Deal for the future of the Republic of Korea. When we are faced with difficulties, we need to look ahead. The Korean New Deal is a project to achieve national transformation worth some 160 trillion Korean won. Next year, including state fund of 21.3 trillion won, a total of 32.5 trillion will be invested to create 360,000 new jobs. First, in Digital New Deal, 7.9 trillion won will be invested. Lately, in the OECD's Digital Government Assessment, Korea topped the list. In IMD's announcement of the digital competitiveness, South Korea jumped from the 19th place in 2017 to 8th this year. These are remarkable achievements. In digital area, we have a great strength, and the post-COVID-19 era will actually become a great opportunity for us to become a leading nation. Next year, we will formulate the data dam to facilitate collection, processing, utilization of the data, and also nurture non-face-to-face industries in the areas of education and medical services. We will also expand the smart transportation scheme for 50% of our national roads. And also we have the remote control of the water gate and the automatic measurements of the level of water at rivers and dams. And we will invest 1.9 trillion won in the digitalization of our infrastructure. We will also see great contribution in preventing and controlling of natural disaster. We will invest 8 trillion Korean won in Green New Deal. We have invested great amount of money in energy transformation policies. However, there are many rooms for investment. We will cooperate with the rest of the world to achieve carbon neutralization goal by 2050. Thank you very much.
석탄 발전을 재생에너지로 대체하여
We will switch from fossil fuel to renewable energy. We will create new industries and markets and create new jobs. And we will also change the old buildings and public rental houses into eco-friendly systems. And we will invest 2.4 trillion Korean won in making these investments and infrastructures green. We will expand the electric cars and hydrogen cars to 116,000 and also invest 4.3 trillion in the charging facilities for these cars. And we will also have a smart industry complex and expand support for them as well. The Korean New Deal is actually a people-oriented development strategy. And based on this Korean New Deal, there are the nurture of persons, and we will invest 5.4 trillion won in this sector. And we will expand employment insurance for special employment workers and also eradicate criteria for the basic living allowances and invest 4.7 trillion won to also expand the employment and social safety nets. We will intensify vocational training and also increase the investment in personnel. On the other hand, we will continue to facilitate a regional balanced growth. And on top of the digital green and the safety net, the Korean New Deal is founded on the New Deal, which is promoting regional balance, and we will facilitate this going forward. For the past years, the government has carried out the national balanced growth projects, tailored SOCs, as well as other projects. However, there are widening gap between the metropolitan area and other regions. And the regional balanced New Deal will also accelerate and also increase the energy and quality of the state balanced development that has been carried out so forth. And we will be centering around the Korean New Deal. We will make sure that these effects will be felt by the public. Smart cities, green smart school, green remodeling, smart industrial complex will be the major representatives of the Korean New Deal, and they will bring about great innovations going forward. The regions will take place and will take the initiative, and the government will also spare no support. When it comes to the state balanced development, there are no dividing between the political parties. If you muster your strength and energy as well as wisdom here at the National Assembly, the government will proactively support your policies. Third, we will boldly invest in nurturing growth engines for the future. During the past 3.5 years, we have been accelerating investments in the innovative growth sector and food resources. And based on the high status of the world's #1 country in terms of chips, we will also become and also achieve greatly forward into becoming a strong country in terms of comprehensive semiconductor semiconductor sector. And future cars also are increasing exports. And until September, we have seen 78% increase on year in terms of electric cars, as well as a 46% increase in terms of hydrogen cars. And the electric car vehicle batteries are actually led by South Korean companies. And against the COVID-19 pandemic, K-Bio status is also being elevated, and the bio and healthcare sector are also becoming our new strength engines for the Republic of Korea. We will accelerate this speed going forward, and these three major new industries will be investing some 4 trillion Korean won to enhance the competitiveness going forward. And the foundation of the fourth industrial revolution, which are data, network, and AI sector, we will be investing in these sectors with about 3.1 trillion won. And we will also invest 5.5 trillion won in enhancing the competitiveness of our major and strong industries. And we will also go beyond Japan to achieve the global market. And we will expand our support for 100 parts. We will also expand this to 338 parts globally, and we will also become a strong country in terms of basic parts, materials, and equipment. And we will also make sure to spare no efforts in increasing the competitiveness for our manufacturing industry. We will also renovate our old industrial complexes and also build smart industries for SMEs. And we will increase the investment to 29.6 trillion won in this sector going forward, and we will also intensify R&D in this sector as well, and also nurture digital professional talents. And we will also have the innovative venture funds for new industries and venture companies, and also enable the public purchase in order to enlarge and guarantee the purchase the sales channel for these companies. And we will also achieve regulation reforms. Fourthly, we will secure employment and social safety nets. Ever since our inauguration, we have put in place our utmost efforts in increasing basic pensions and the children allowance, as well as state responsible scheme for Alzheimer's, and increase the coverage of health insurance. And we have been also exerting our full efforts to increase our support for the vulnerable class. And they include the emergency disaster relief funds, employment stability funds, as well as new support funds for the SMEs. And to this end, during the second quarter, we have seen an increase in the amount of income in all sectors of the public, and for the lower class, we have seen a greater increase of the rate of income. And we have also achieved great development and achievements. However, there are a long way to go ahead. And we will make sure that these are not just temporary, and we will look after the individual lives of the public. Starting from next year, we will invest 46.9 trillion won and to intensify the livelihood, medical and shelter and education, which are the 4 major social safety nets. We will remove the criteria for the basic living funds, and we will make sure that 157,000 more households will be beneficiaries. And as for the senior citizens, we will be expanding the basic pensions of the 300,000 Korean won to all senior citizens. We will also expand our scope to 11 trillion when it comes to the coverage of the health insurance, and we will provide additional 190,000 public rental houses. And we will expand the high school free education to all grades levels. And we will also exert utmost efforts to protecting the vulnerable class and investment for the personnel. And we will also enhance lending as well as other fundings for SMEs, small businesses, and self-employed. And we will also intensify support for the youth jobs. And as for the senior farmers, we will also intensify our support, and the support will be also intensified for the farmers, the fishermen, as well as the veterans, households, and the disabled. And we will also expand the investment to 20 trillion Korean won in terms of expanding the safety net for the public. And starting January of next year, we will have the unprecedented national public employment support system, and this will help the jobs for 400,000 people and also facilitate the job seeking for 500,000 people. And as for 465,000 people, which are especially employed, we will also expand the employment insurance rate to 80%. And we will also make sure to stabilize our real estate market. We will make sure that these related policies will be carried out going forward so that we can increase the public welfare in these areas. We will make sure that these three laws in relation to the property sectors will be stabilized soon, and we will seek a stability in the real estate markets.
마지막으로
Last but not least, next year's budget also entails our strong determination towards safe life of the public and robust defense and establishing peace on the Korean Peninsula. Ever since our government's inauguration, we have also carried out three major projects to safeguard the lives of the public. And to safeguard the lives of the public against fine dust, we also have enacted special legislations. As a result, starting from last year and also this year, we have seen a large decrease in the number of people dying from traffic accidents. And also we have great achievements made in achieving the density of the fine dust. We will continue on with the efforts next year. And overcoming the COVID-19 pandemic will be also a very crucial sector in next year. And in the K-quarantine budget, we also increase our budget to 1.8 trillion Korean won. We will intensify the prevention, detection, and treatment quarantine systems. And we will also additionally implement 500 treatment facilities tailored for respiratory diseases. And as the importance of COVID-19 vaccines and therapeutics development cannot be highlighted even more, we will expand the tailored support for these sectors. Even when the vaccines and treatments are ready by other countries, we will make sure that these will be also imported to our country. In order to safeguard the lives of the COVID-19 confirmed patients and also to ensure the mental health of the medical sectors, we also have designated 100 people for the professional consultations. And we will also provide continued support for K-quarantine. We believe that the robust defense will be the foundation for peace. We have a strong determination for establishing peace on the Korean Peninsula, and we will be expanding the defense budget to 52.9 trillion won next year. And we will be intensifying our readiness going forward in all areas, and we will also intensify our investment to carry out the production of main parts and main technology here in Korea. And we will also provide continued support and to nurture our smart soldiers as well. In one aspect, we will also increase the salaries for the soldiers, and we will also reflect this in our 3.8 trillion Korean won. And during the past 3.5 years, we were focused on eradicating the threats of a possible war on the Korean Peninsula. There were many progress made. However, the dialogues has been stalled once again, and once again lately we have seen loss of a valuable life of our public in the West Sea. And I believe that this is creating great concerns among the public. We will be revealing the truth transparently. However, once again, we will be learning the desiredness of a peace system on the Korean Peninsula. A connected road and sea and the sky is also something that is shared between the two Koreas through peace, and we will make sure that we will seek a road for coexistence going forward between the two Koreas. And peace on the Korean Peninsula is a calling for us all. In order to overcome each and every one of the challenges that are ahead of us, this will take time. However, we need to walk towards peace. Based on strong defense, we will make sure to achieve eternal peace and complete denuclearization on the Korean Peninsula and seek continued dialogue. The two Koreas will also overcome any challenges based on dialogue and trust, and we hope that this will also expand to peace on the in the Northeast Asia as well. Fellow Koreans, an honorable speaker and distinguished members of the National Assembly, the National Assembly has also exerted its full efforts in cooperation when we were faced with difficulties. At an unprecedented crisis like this, participation and cooperation is ever more important. The public will also pay high hopes if the political parties can stay united. And when you also respond to the desires and the callings of the public to reform and livelihood and enhance livelihoods, we believe that cooperation will also be promoted going forward. We ask you to cooperate in passing the three laws in relation to the fair economy, and we also ask for your support going forward for other legislations in relation to reforming the power authorities. And we also ask you to bring an end to the delay in the inauguration of a special investigation body as well. And on top of the Infectious Disease Prevention Act to overcome COVID-19, there are many other legislations like the Development Act on the retail market, as well as Employment Insurance Act as well. And we ask you to pass these laws as soon as possible, and the budget bill as well as soon as possible. In particular, for the social vulnerable class, we ask you to exert more role from the National Assembly. And we believe that the infectious diseases and the social and economic crisis sparked by this is not fair. And this also exacerbates the challenges faced by the vulnerable class. However, the reality is that we do not have a safety net against these vulnerable class. For those who are not protected by our systems, we ask the National Assembly to muster your wisdom. We are aiming to make a nation where all people are well off together, and we believe that this aim will be materialized here in the National
위기에
Assembly.
강한 나라
The
대한민국은
Korea is strong against any
연대하고
crisis,
협력하는
and this is about making a country which stays united and
함께
and
손을 잡고
exerting a sense of
국난을
solidarity.
극복하고
We shall take
세계를
hands together,
선도하는
and we shall overcome
대한민국으로
the
나아갑시다.
state crisis and walk towards a new
감사합니다.
future. Thank you very much.
Now, that was President Moon Jae-in's budget speech to the parliament. To give you a brief recap, President Moon called for bipartisan support for his administration's fight against COVID-19 and to revitalize the economy. He stressed that South Korea is a country which is strong in times of crisis and expressed gratitude to South Koreans over their support for antivirus measures. He also unveiled details of a fiscal operation scheme to succeed in efforts for virus control and economic growth. The president also presented his vision for inter-Korean peace, highlighting efforts to resume dialogue with Pyongyang during his final year and a half in office. And that wraps up our live coverage of President Moon's address. Now let's move on to our regular coverage of today's headlines. On the COVID-19 situation here in South Korea, health authorities reported 103 new cases on Wednesday, an increase of 15 from the previous day, and a return to triple digits. Authorities remain on high alert over cluster infections at nursing homes and a golfing event. Of the new cases, 96 were locally transmitted, most of which were in the greater Seoul area, and 7 cases were from overseas. The total number of cases now stands at over 26,100. And one more death has been reported, with the death toll rising to 461. There's rising concern South Korea's new daily COVID-19 cases could spike in the coming days as the new cluster infections continue. Yes. And about this, our Kim Hyo-sun has more details.
Amid the continued spread of the coronavirus across the country at facilities vulnerable to cluster infections, a new outbreak has emerged from a golf outing. Health officials confirmed some 80 people attended a college alumni friendship golf tournament on October 17th at a golf club in Yongin City, Gyeonggi-do Province. After golfing, 20 of them had a meal together, likely contributing to the transmissions. Health authorities said that as of Tuesday noon, some 30 people had been infected in relation to this cluster, 18 of which were participants in the golf event, with the rest being family members or acquaintances.
We are investigating possible virus transmissions at restaurants and while golfing, as well as other activities carried out within the golf club.
There are also infections stemming from family gatherings and care centers for the elderly. What's worrisome is that a majority of latest cases are still concentrated in the greater capital area.
Some 70 to 80% of domestic outbreak is concentrated in the Seoul metropolitan area, which is home to nearly half of South Korea's total population.
Quarantine authorities continue to highlight that individuals need to comply with quarantine measures, describing this winter as the last one before an effective vaccine against COVID-19 is ready. They also urge the public to scale down gatherings and events during the year-end holiday season and religious gatherings, or even refrain from attending them altogether. Kim Hyo-sun, Arirang News.
The funeral ceremony of Lee Gun-hee, the late chairman of Samsung who died last weekend, is currently underway. The exact schedule of where his body will be taken has not been released to the public. However, sources say the funeral procession may travel to places where he left a footprint at Samsung, including his home in Seoul's Yongsan-gu district, Samsung Electronics headquarters in Suwon, just south of Seoul, and the company's chip plants in Gyeonggi-do Province. He is likely to be laid in rest in Yongin next to his parents or at an ancestral burial site in Suwon. And that's a wrap for us at the hour on Arirang News. We'll be back with more of the day's headlines at noon Korea time, so stay tuned. Thank you for watching and goodbye.
As COVID-19 persists, the demand for contactless delivery services is surging. In particular, the delivery food service industry grew 83% from last year to 1.6 trillion won. At the same time, the amount of garbage created as a result has been increasing significantly. Therefore, it is crucial to implement proper recycling methods that can help save resources. First, empty any food item or liquid from the container. Clean any food residue to prevent odors. Separate recyclables into proper categories. Remove labels or tapes from containers. Some trash, such as receipts, are commonly mistaken as recyclables. Dispose them as trash. Ice packs must be thrown out as general waste, as washing the contents down the sewer can contribute to water pollution. With correct sorting and disposing, your waste can be reborn as a new resource. New normal, new challenges.